Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting for Monday, May the 31st. I'll call this meeting to order. And before we have our moment of silence, I would like to say that on behalf of my fellow members of council and the Township of Scugog, we stand with our Indigenous neighbors and the families following the discovery of 215 children on the grounds of a residential school in Kamloops, BC. This is a tragic and painful reminder of the residential school system and the lifelong pain and suffering for Indigenous children and their families throughout Canada. Residential schools are a part of our history, and we must all acknowledge the suffering their existence caused. The flags at our municipal facilities will be lowered to half-mast for 215 hours, 9 days, to honor each child. I wish for healing and peace. We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you. Scugog is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. Today, we acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territories of the
Did you get an actual invite?
Just listen, get out.
Excuse me, Mr. Corrigan, your microphone is on. I'll start again. Scugog is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. Today, we acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional territories of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic Indigenous connection to this land and recognize the contributions First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, our province and country as a whole. We're grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I'll call on our clerk, please, to give the proceedings, talk about the proceedings of today's meeting. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. For your information, I will be recording the minutes in eScribe this evening and conducting the votes. Should we have any technical issues during the meeting, please be patient as we try to resolve them. If we are unable to, then we will carry on with the meeting, provided that the live streaming is still operating and all members of council, staff, and the public are still able to fully participate. I will now conduct a roll call to ascertain which members of council are present. Mayor Drew is present. Councillor Watton, are you present?
I am present, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDougall, are you present?
I'm here, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Guido, are you present?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ross, are you present?
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiesenbrink, are you present?
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, are you present?
Present.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I can confirm that we have quorum for this meeting. I will now list the staff who are present in alphabetical order. Adam DeBecke, Amy Coughlin, Carol Coleman, our CAO Ken Nix, Kevin Heritage, Laura Barda, Laura Garnasio, Lori Bowers, our Fire Chief Mark Burney, and Robin Halewski. Is there any member of staff present whom I did not mention? Also in attendance this evening are a couple delegates who will be introduced shortly. As in previous electronic meetings, I will now review the rules for the meeting. Please mute your microphone while not talking. This will avoid any background noise that may occur where you are and will avoid any echo of the audio. Also, please ensure you are in a quiet place to limit background noise when you speak. Please use headphones as this will also improve the audio quality. If you would like to speak, please use the hand raise function in the meeting. The mayor will then call upon you when it's your turn. For members of council, if you leave your computer, please let the mayor know so that quorum can continue to be met. When moving or seconding a motion, please use the hand raise function in the meeting and the mayor will announce who the mover and seconder are. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the township's YouTube channel. We will be using an electronic voting process during tonight's meeting. At the appropriate times, I will announce that voting is open and council members will be asked to make a selection. Once everyone has voted, I will announce that the vote is closed. If for any reason a council member is unable to vote, please announce your vote verbally and say in favor or against. If the electronic voting system stops working for any reason, we will revert back to a verbal vote whereby the mayor will ask if there is any member of council opposed to the motion. If you are opposed, please state your name and that you are opposed. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That concludes my opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll now call for any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof. Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 10.3.1 is correspondence in support of the reopening of hair salons. As my husband is an owner of one, I will be reclusing myself from voting on that.
Thank you. Councillor Kiesebrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just the matters from closed session because my family has a tourism business.
Thank you. And what about the, I guess the minutes are okay, are they? Tourism minutes?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Matters from closed session. Previous to tonight's meeting, we met in closed session to discuss personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal employees. And we talked specifically about the committee appointments for tourism and accessibility. And I'll call on Councillor Watton for her motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And my motion would read that report CONF 2021-004 entitled Scugog Tourism Advisory Committee Appointment be received and that John Mackey be appointed as the business owner or lake-based tourism operator to the Scugog Tourism Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 2018-2022 term, subject to the passing of Bylaw 1921. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor McDougall, questions or comments? All those in favor, Madam Clerk, will you call the vote?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, it's Councillor Guido. I vote in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Ross?
In favor, thank you.
Thank you. Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that's carried unanimously with the one conflict. Councillor Ross, you have the second motion, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My motion reads that the report CONF 2021-005 entitled Scugog Accessibility Advisory Committee Appointments be received, and that Ms. Candice Morgan and Ms. Patricia Thomas be appointed to the Scugog Accessibility Advisory Committee for the remainder of the 2018-2022.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Brown. Questions or comments? All those in favor, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is Councillor Ross in favor, please?
Madam Clerk, Deborah Kiesebrink in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Kiesenbrink. I've noted that the system is showing that you still have a conflict, but I've made a note that you did vote in favor for it. Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that is carried unanimously, except for the, well, okay, unanimously. Thank you very much. And announcements from council. Councillor Watton, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two announcements, actually. The first one I just received, and I'm not sure if all of council receives the email from the Port Perry Lions Club about their rain barrel fundraiser to help raise funds for the Scout Hall Restoration Fund. The barrels are $55 and include a leaf and mosquito filter, overflow adapter and spigot, and an overflow hose. They can be pre-ordered online at www.rainbarrel.ca// actually Port Perry Lions. All pre-orders could be picked up at the Scout Hall on Friday, June 25th between 6 and 9. Or if you prefer, you can opt to have them delivered to your home if you live in Scugog for an additional $10. I will only speak for myself. They're a great tool, and we have two, and they work phenomenally for watering your gardens and so on. So I encourage everyone to share this news and see if we can't help the Port Perry Lions Club raise some much needed funds for the Scout Hall. That's my first announcement, Madam Mayor. And my second is just a quick update about the Port Perry 150. Very excited to announce that Enbridge has partnered with us, and we received a grant that will enable us to hopefully purchase a media display board and be able to play our videos and with audio. Actually, we're planning to do that through the a window at the mill, and it will just be short clips of all sorts of things common to Port Perry, from historic to upcoming to our current state of affairs. So very excited to announce that. Opening day is on the 9th of June. We are still under strict COVID protocols, so we encourage everyone. It will be pre-recorded, so we encourage everyone to take advantage of watching it on the on Rogers TV once it is aired. And there are many, many events, and we do have a souvenir booklet that that should be arriving in everyone's mailboxes prior to the 9th of June. And in it, you will find 150 ways to celebrate Port Perry. Many of them are planned through the COVID lens. So they're like self-guided walking tours, riding tours, scavenger hunts, car rallies, and things like that. I encourage everyone to pull out the centerpiece and see how many of the 150 things you can get done. And I will note that some of them have a June timeline. So I encourage you to not delay, but look at them once you receive it in your mailbox. Those are my announcements, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I believe that the opening ceremonies, the flag raising, will also be on YouTube later, a few weeks afterwards.
Yes,
and great idea from the Lions Club. I know that was perfect for the environment, but also it's the best thing for your flowers. You don't need to fertilize them as much as when you use tap water. So we wish them well with that. Councillor McDougall?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. 3 brief announcements. One, I'd just like to note that May 30th to June 5th is National Accessibility Week, celebrating again our Accessibility Committee. 2, celebrating our diversity. It's Pride Week, as you shared earlier today on the Township Facebook page, May 31st to June 5th. And the last thing I'd like to announce is it's the kickoff for Bike Month. So Scugog's seen great strides in the biking environment in Scugog Township in the last few years. So if you have a chance, get outside, ride your bike. And I think there might even be a cycling event that Councillor Watton might be in the 150 as well. Anyway, thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Are there any other announcements from council? Seeing none, I have some booked for staff here, so I'll call on Director Bowers first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll have two announcements this evening. First of all, we've received a few inquiries, customer service inquiries regarding our splash pad, as we do this time every year, especially if we do get a bout of warm weather, not so much this past weekend. But I just wanted to let residents know that the letter of intent to open and operate the splash pad has been sent to the region, and then we'll be booking for next steps the regional health inspector as well as water testing. So folks can anticipate that our splash pad will be open approximately the week of June 21st, which is quite ahead of the scheduled operations that council approved in our splash pad policy. We always do try to get the splash pad open about the last week of school. Typically, this year we seem to be, if we're lucky enough to get that inspection book, will be about the week of June 21st. My second announcement is just to let folks know that staff are assisting and supporting the Port Perry 150 initiatives, including their goal to plant 150 trees in Scugog. And we've started off with some trees that have been planted, 2 in Palmer Park, 1 at the library grounds, and 2 at Birdseye Park. And staff will continue to work with the committee to identify parks in our hamlets to assist in planting additional trees across Scugog. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bowers. Director Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Drew. I'd just like to give an update on road construction projects now that spring is fully here. We are well underway on doing our road construction this year, and projects are on schedule. McLaughlin Road the surface treatment will be done tomorrow, and following McLaughlin Road, the crew will move on to Devitt's Road on Thursday or Friday this week. Coryell Street and Seagrave was paved today, and the other second section will receive a surface treatment next week, and Med Road will also be surface treated next week. And the construction on Major Street is progressing very well. The storm and water main work are complete. Curb and gutter and sidewalk construction are scheduled to begin next week, so that is moving along well as well. And I will also be doing a presentation at the June council meeting to give an update on all construction projects throughout the township at that time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's good news. Everybody wants to hear about their roads getting done, so thank you very much for that. Chief Burney.
Thank you, Mayor Drew. I too have a few short and brief announcements, all related to COVID-19. I'm extremely delighted to share with you that over the past 7 days, Scugog has recorded zeros every day with respect to the case count. And presently our case count is sitting at 4 cases, 3 at home isolating, and unfortunately 1 in the hospital. This, along with the case counts across the province, will probably keep the stay-at-home order scheduled to end June 2nd intact, and I'm sure we all look forward to that. With that, we expect to move into step 1 of the reopening plan June 14th. Step 1 will permit, with restrictions, increased outdoor activity and increased retail. The province will confirm closer to the expected startup of step 1. And then finally, Mayor Drew, residents aged 80 years and over can beginning today, can contact the call center at 1-888-444-5153 to reschedule their second dose appointments. And that is also good news. Thank you, Mayor Drew. That concludes my announcements.
Thank you, Chief. Just want to get the message out there that please be patient. The phone lines are jammed up trying to book appointments. It's a case of availability of vaccine and the additional 12 years and up, and now 80 years and over getting their second shot. So please be patient and keep trying. Right, Chief?
100%, Mayor Drew. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. No further announcements from staff. Seeing none. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Larry Corrigan, who's a former councillor, and Mr. Don Farquharson, who are co-chairs of the local RTO RTO/ERO Senior Advocacy Committee. That's the Retired Teachers of Ontario, I understand. And you're going to speak to us about the proposed long-term care facility and the MZO on Reach Street. Councillor Corrigan, Mr. Corrigan, and Mr. Farquharson, welcome. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Unmute. You're muted. Mr. Corrigan, you're muted. That's better.
You were referring to my past. I'm sure there were many occasions you could have muted me in the discussion.
Now that you mention it.
Anyway, Madam Mayor and members of council and staff, Dawn and I are here tonight to review our RTO submission of last week to Regional Council regarding the needs of seniors in this pandemic as it relates to long-term care in general and the proposed LTC facility, and now combined with a retirement home project on Reed Street, given the approved Councillor Watton amendment to the original motion of the region. Hopefully I don't need overtime tonight. Slide 2, please. A new vision for long-term care. This is a lift from the Long-Term Care Commission report of its, I think, 58 recommendations going forward, which we support as part of our advocacy going forward. Next slide. Our concerns, our main concern deals with the implementation of the development of this proposed new facility and its location, as well as the process, and I guess I could say politics involved. From our view, there's been very little transparency, public awareness, and understanding by all parties, and government included, regarding this proposed development. While pleased with the announcement of the 224-bed facility, we are understandably wary given the recent deaths and long list of non-compliant orders listed by the Department of Health of the Durham region regarding our outdated facility, Port Perry Place. Next slide, please. Also, we share the concerns of both the regional and Scugog planning departments in their reports as to this large initially proposed rezoning for speculated residential development being tethered to the proposed LTC facility at the expense of planned and visioned industrial goals for more balanced assessment ratio. We share the concern of Mayor Drew and others that the region could cancel this proposed plan to build a new pumping station as the first step in bringing water and sewer to the industrial area if we overextend our acts. Next slide, please. Next slide. Based on both reports, that of the LTC Commission and the Auditor General reports and their significance and implications, it's vitally important not to make sure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Next slide, please. Next. As to the future, we have to get this right with 21st century thinking as it relates to planning, staffing, financing, and standards of care and infrastructure, as well as transparency and accountability. It's not just about building a very large LTC facility, but a safe home for residents, their families, and staff. Next slide, please. We show you two archetypes of structures. And we ask a question: would our seniors and their families like to spend their time in LTC's homes as the structure on the left or as the proposed structure on the right? Next slide, please. Questions remain with respect to the Councillor Watton amendment that was approved, and we ask them tonight, and with respect to the amendment, which is the concluding slide. Next slide, please. We share with you the map of the proposed original MZO request and its location to help with response to the questions earlier shown to you. Next slide, please. This is again another map showing the subject lands side by side with the Port Perry urban area. And with the question, do we have a secondary plan if this project fails to go through? Next slide. Going forward with the future, given the amount of stress and pain associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, especially those involved in LTC and retirement homes, the residents, the staff, and their families, as well as the ongoing concerns of our local body politic, we would hope that the proponents of the LTC and retirement home would organize an open house as a goodwill gesture in the fall to give the good news, read their plans for Scugog for our valued seniors and help with the healing process going forward. Next slide, please. And we conclude with the amended motion as received from you, Mayor Drew, and we gratefully acknowledge that. And this brings us to our comments, and I believe we didn't need overtime. We'll be open now to hear questions and comments going forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Corrigan, and you are bang on time. Good for you. Are there questions for the delegates? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your presentation tonight. As you are well aware, Mr. Corrigan.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I will respond to Mr. Corrigan's questions if he'll put the slide back to that he has directed directly to me, if I may.
Okay, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
My hand seems always slow to rise for some reason on this.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, so the reason for the amendment, Mr. Corrigan and Mr. Farquharson, was that I fully believe that should the a long-term care facility be permitted eventually on this land, that a retirement home would complement it, similar to what we have already in existence, but with well, we already have it in existence. So should there need be for one person to have to move to a long-term care facility, their partner could be close by in a retirement home. I believe we have that at Port Perry Place and the Villa. So that was hence why I felt that the retirement home should complement this, and not to mention that the current zoning on this property to go through the normal channels would mean we have to go to the municipal comprehensive review, and then we would have to go to a regional official plan, and then we would have to hope that through that official plan that the conversion request was granted. If it was not, there still would be made, and then after that, the municipal official plan would have to be dealt with. So I just felt that time was important given the wait list concerns, not only for Central East Lynn, but also for Port Perry Place. At this time, there are 299 people on a wait list for our Port Perry Place. So I just felt one would complement the other, and I do believe through the motion and that the lands. I know there was some concern about the size of the lands and the request through the MZO, but my feeling was if the MZO would get granted only for the long-term care facility, then it would still be a very long process to complement that facility. And I would also comment that without the MZO approval, we will have nothing to move forward with at this point in time. We're talking a residential complex. The current MCO does not deal with any residential other than the long-term care facility and the retirement facility. And at our council meeting, when Mr. Barfoot from Southbridge spoke, as well as Mr. Given from the proponents planner. Both have cited that much of the design could be handled through site plan application through our planning department. And our council of the day would agree with you that they were certainly not keen on the first draft of the new building for that. So to your point, council and planning staff, while council or planning would work, planning staff would work with Southbridge through a site plan application to try and develop what the long-term care facility would look like. And through that process, I believe there would also be public consultation and so forth. None of this is needed should the MZO not be approved. So hence why some would say the horse before the cart, others would say the cart before the horse. I'm not sure which way this one is, but those are my reasons for adding the retirement home. And you mentioned about the assessment here. Those lands have remained as have been designated employment lands for over 40 years, and we have only had 2 requests for employment on those lands. And industrial and manufacturing have been on the decline since 2004, and a long-term care facility and retirement home would at least bring new growth and new jobs to our community. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Watton. And I'd like to ask a question of Director Heritage, or maybe, yes, probably Director Heritage. On point number 4, will council be required to rescind, revise their April 26th motion to support the region's motion? I don't believe we do. I think the 2 sets of comments are independent, but I will ask Director Heritage to.
You're correct. You're correct, Madam Mayor. The 2 sets of resolutions passed by the individual councils are independent, and they will be forwarded to the minister, and the minister will consider those resolutions and make a final decision on the proposed MZO.
Thank you very much, Director Heritage. The only thing I would like to add is that this is a property owner who has asked for an MZO, and he's asked it for a long-term care facility and now also a retirement home. We do not have a control over who he sells that to. So I understand and appreciate that you have an opinion on who is currently the proponent, but we do not have control over that. So I'd just like to add that. And at that, I would ask for a motion to receive the delegation, please. Motion to receive, please. Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Councillor Ross. Any questions or comments for the delegates before we moved on? Seeing none, all those in favor? Please.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Members of council, can you see the vote? I'm not seeing anyone's coming in as of yet.
The motion is up there, but I don't know about the vote.
I was able to successfully vote, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Becky, Councillor McDougall, I was able to vote.
And Councillor Watton, I thought I did. I sent a yes, but in favor if it doesn't show up.
Councillor Kiesebrink in favor, and I did vote.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown is in favor.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, everyone's voted in favor. The screen's just not displaying for you up here, but the motion did pass.
Thank you very much. Mr. Corrigan and Mr. Farquharson, thank you very much for your delegation tonight. You've put a lot of work in that, and I understand that you have spoken to the retired teachers of Ontario, and they are fully in support. We thank you for your presentation tonight and wish you well. Thank you. We will now move on to the consent agenda. And I have a few polls, 10.1.1, Councillor Brown, 10.1.8, Councillor Brown, 10.1.10 is a conflict for, oh no, it's not, sorry, correct that, 10.2.1, and that is by Councillor Guido and Councillor Watton, and 10.2.2, Councillor Brown, 10.3.1, Councillor Kiesebrink, and I think 10.4.5. Are there any other polls? Seeing none. May I have a motion to accept the recommendations on the rest of the consent agenda? Councillor Watton, Councillor McDougall, all those in favor? Are you comfortable calling the vote, Madam Clerk?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, it's not coming up for me. It's Councillor Kiesebrink. I'll vote in favor. Could I also ask, Madam Clerk, for for the two matters of correspondence, 10.3.2 and 0.3, do I need to do anything with those? Or
no, if you don't pull them, they'll just be received for information.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Madam Clerk, it's Councillor McDougall. I'm voting in favor. I don't have the vote on my e-scribe.
Thank you.
Same for Councillor Guido. Madam Clerk, when I click to the other screen, I do see the ability to vote, but it doesn't actually let us submit it, or at least myself submit it.
Good to know. I apologize.
It's probably not your fault, Madam Clerk.
It's technology.
Yes, at its best.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that's all in favor. We'll now move to 10.1.1. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, this is just a little bit of housekeeping. This should have been passed earlier, but it wasn't. So I'd just like to move that the minutes of the council meeting of April 26, 21 be adopted, save and accept resolution CR-2021-102, and that resolution CR 2021-102 be amended to read as follows, that the minutes of the Scugog Heritage Advisory Committee meeting of April 6, 2021 be received, save and accept for the recommendation regarding heritage sign guidelines and the recommendations regarding the 2 heritage grants for 229 Queen Street, Anya of Sweden, and 223 Queen Street, Framers Gallery, which shall be endorsed.
Thank you. We have a mover. Councillor Brown, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Watton,
Yes, my hand is up to second.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, will you call the vote, please, Madam Clerk?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Guido in favor.
Councillor McDougall in favor.
Councillor Watton in favor.
Councillor Kiesebrink in favor. Madam Clerk, I'm still seeing Mr. Corrigan's presentation on my screen.
As am I.
For the vote.
As am I. Councillor Brown votes in favor.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor, and I'll retry to share my screen here if people are having issues seeing it.
I had the motion up there. Councillor Corrigan, do you realize you're still online and your camera's on? Councillor Corrigan, sorry, Mr. Corrigan. Well, okay. So that is carried. Thank you. And we'll now move to 10.1.8, Scugog Heritage Advisory Committee. Councillor Brown.
And that's the same thing. It's more of the same housekeeping. I just would like to move that the minutes of the Scugog Heritage Advisory Committee meeting of May 4th be received, save, and accept for the recommendation regarding the street naming policy working group, which shall be endorsed.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Watt. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Kiesebrink? Do you have a question, Councillor Kiesebrink? Councillor Ross? No? Okay. We got a seconder. No questions or comments? Seeing none, can we call the vote, please?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk and members of Council and Madam Mayor, it may help the rest of us if you log out of eScribe and log back in. I was able to vote successfully this time.
Thank you, Councillor Guido.
Somebody who is voting for the Habs has suggested something. I don't know who was that voting for the Habs?
Well, that would be me, Madam Mayor. I didn't know that actually came up, but yes, if you just hit home, it'll sort itself.
Thank you. And
Councillor
Shane,
Brown.
Go ahead.
In favor, please.
Thank you. Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
thank you. And that's carried unanimously. And we will move on to 10.2.1. And that is pulled by Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to Mr. CAO. Just a follow-up question. I know we had an opportunity to speak earlier today on this, and perhaps you've been able to find out some further information, but in the report it states to the 50% increase in phone conversations that many municipal staff members are having to have in their day-to-day workload. I'm wondering if we know what the decrease or the increase in efficiency without the encounter visits, and if that counteracts the increase in phone calls.
Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Excuse me. Councillor Guido raises a good point. However, when we speak to staff, they are as busy or busier than they were before. The added phone calls, the added time on the phone calls, and in addition to the services we provide through the door, including commissioning and marriage licenses, as well as many other duties that are not as quick and easy in a COVID environment, have been taking the additional time and working within the protocols are making things more complicated. I would ask that the clerk, since she is responsible for the front counter, could maybe add any additional items regarding the drivers of workload in that area and any potential savings. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do you have anything you can offer?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Nix touched on many of the points, but I will add that yes, although we're not having as many in-person walk-ins, when we do have individuals come in for appointments or they just show up not realizing that we aren't open, it does take longer for staff to address the inquiries or the process in which they're there for. So if it's a marriage license, because of all the COVID protocols and safety measures we put in place, it does take longer to process that. So in addition to the added increased phone calls, they are still extremely busy when it comes to the frontline customer service responses.
Perfect, thank you. And further, if I may, if I can just ask if this is successfully passed this evening, if when a temporary staff member is added, if members of council can be advised of this hiring.
Mr. Nix?
Yes, Madam Mayor. As you know, we try to keep council informed, and we'd be glad to find a way that suits everybody's requirement.
Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Guido?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First off, I'll second that motion if we didn't have one.
Did we?
And my question would be through you to Mr. CAO. Are we able to use, should it become necessary, and I know that you speak to the financial implications, but if necessary, are the funds that we receive for COVID, are we able to use them for these positions if necessary? If you could speak to that, please.
Mr. CAO? Or Ms. Director Barta?
I can speak to that. The funds that we have for COVID can be used to supplement staff to address COVID-related issues, and we do allocate staff to the COVID funding wherever possible. However, a lot of the things related to COVID are not specifically easily identifiable as an additional effort because they're spread out and everybody has to address them, and it takes a piece of everybody's time. But definitely, wherever we can charge things to COVID, they are being charged to COVID.
Thank you. I don't see any. Is there anything further, Councillor Watton?
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. CAO, is there anything else you would like to highlight in this report?
Just, Madam Mayor, that we have been operating in this pandemic environment and changed how we did business while responding to the provincial directives that are constantly changing and aiming at protecting the public, but that we're experiencing demands and pressures on our services well beyond COVID. And, you know, whether it's a building permit increase or a increase in locates, it always has a ripple effect on other other departments across the organization. And this creates a real challenge for our organization because we've been operating on a very thin staffing model that works and is geared towards the, I guess I call it the pre-pandemic activity level. And when we face increasing demands, whether it be short-term or sustained, it gives it really does put significant pressures on the lean staffing model. And ultimately, at some point, something has to give, whether it's services, service levels, or the staff themselves. And you know, this policy, and we really appreciate the flexibility this policy gives to react quickly. It doesn't allow us to address everything, and we will definitely use it where possible to keep the service levels going where possible. But we do need a longer analysis and discussion in the future in terms of a sustainable resource so we can continue to provide services in the post-pandemic environment.
Thank you. Yeah, looking at the stats that you provided, the 2020 or the 2019 versus the 2021, absolutely incredible workload increases. And so I think this is very timely to bring this forward, and hopefully it will help the stress levels on our staff. So thank you. Councillor Guido, did you make that motion? And Councillor Watton seconded, I believe.
Sure, yes, I will make that motion.
And yes to the second.
Thank you. The motion is there. Madam Clerk, are there any other questions? No, seeing none. Madam Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that's carried, and everybody got to vote this time. That's great. We'll now move on to 10.2.2, and Councillor Brown, you've pulled that. That's the Virtual Canada Day celebration.
Yes, and through you, Madam Mayor, it's just a question for either Shannon or Becky, I suppose. Page 3 of 5 of your report, Canada Day celebration kits will be distributed to 300 families by recreation staff for free at several locations on June 28th, 29th, and 30th. I just want to know how you're going to decide who gets one and who doesn't.
Who would like to answer that?
Madam Mayor, it's Lori Bowers. I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Shannon is unable to attend this evening, so through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Brown, that's a first come, first serve basis, and we are really excited to have these kits offered. Similarly, in Uxbridge and Brock, they are also going to be distributing approximately 300 kits to local families. They'll be available, as you pointed out, June 28th, 29th, and 30th. They're chock full of wonderful activities for families to enjoy Canada Day this year. They'll be available at the arena, the library, our municipal office. There'll be a few locations, and we'll be communicating that out as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor Brown?
No, thank you very much, Director. That's great.
Did you wish to make that motion?
I would be happy to.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kiesebrink, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can we call the vote, please?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Technology is still working. That's great. We'll move now to 10.3.1, Councillor Kiesebrink, and this is the Township of Clarington correspondence regarding supporting hair service establishments, and your conflict, Councillor Guido, is noted. Councillor Kiesebrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would really like to support Clarington Council's motion, and like Clarington, we are a strong supporter of our local and small businesses, whereas hair service establishments are important businesses in our community, and whereas hair service establishments in Ontario are mandated to be closed during the province-wide shutdown. Also, interestingly, they tend to be small and unable to support their businesses and families during the shutdown. Hair service establishment owners across the province have implemented their protocols to keep their clients and staff safe and to adhere to the required measures. So another point is that the Region of Durham Health Unit do inspect salons and spas, and they post those inspection results publicly. So I would like to also mirror Clarington with Scugog and say that we would like to ask for the province to support the reopening of hair service establishments as soon as possible and to remove them from being included in any further shutdowns so that they can be opened. In CTV News, salon owners are particularly frustrated because in the Ontario reopening plan, they have been pushed in the 3-step phase. They've been not included in stage 1, but they're pushed further out, and it's just particularly difficult for this industry. So I would just like to see us support Clarington's motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Seconder? Councillor Brown. Councillor Brown got his hand up there. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing yes, I know that our small retailers are particularly careful with the COVID restrictions because their livelihood depends on it.
Yeah.
So the motion is up there, and I'll call the question, please, Madam Clerk.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that's carried unanimously, noting Councillor Guido's conflict. The next item is 10.4.5. It's the bylaw, and I'm wondering, Director Heritage, if you could explain this, please.
Sure, Madam Mayor. Thanks very much. This is the part lot control bylaw exemption that permits a block with 2 linked dwellings on it in the Cockers Creek subdivision to be split into 2 individual lots that can be conveyed to the 2 different landowners. The interior lot line between the dwellings is fixed once the foundations are poured and surveyed, so it's ultimately registered through a 40R reference plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Do I have a mover for this, please? Councillor McDougall, seconded by Councillor Ross. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Please call the question, Madam Clerk.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Kiesenbrink? Oh, we got it. Thank you. Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And what time does the Leaf game start tonight? Chief, or if you're still on the line? Well, anyway,
we're already into the first period, Madam Mayor.
It's already on, and we had a huge agenda tonight. We got through it very quickly and thoroughly. So thank you very much for your contributions tonight to tonight's meeting. Thank you,
Madam
staff.
Mayor?
Yes.
I just have a question regarding 12.1, the waiver of special event permit fees.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there's this notice of motion. Yes, please go ahead.
That's okay. I mean, I'll talk hockey first at any time of the day or night. Just to give an explanation, this is an attempt by, well, I guess myself as a representative, to cut the BIA a break on fees for special events, which is music essentially on patios for this year, given the trying times, especially for the local businesses, which Councillor Kiesenbrink referenced also just moments ago. I've been asked and have discovered that only one permit's required for all performances at a particular location. So this is at the behest of the BIA, looking for the exemption to last the year. I'm informed that dates and locations will still be required. And if dates are added after the permit is approved and then issued, a phone call or an email to Megan at the township office would be required. The permit is subject to all provincial guidelines in place at the time of issuance with respect to restaurants and performances. So my thanks to Becky, Brigida, the BIA, Mr. CAO, Councillor Guido for adding her input and seconding this motion. Thanks to the other councillors who indicated an interest in furthering this, and thanks to Megan, who's confirmed that a special event permit is, for what it's worth, $150 per permit, so we're saving them that. The BIA is applying for all patios under one permit. Establishments outside the BIA will have to apply separately.
Thank you. Councillor Guido, did you want to add to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And no, Councillor Brown added it at the end. Just wanted to confirm that this will be township-wide and not just restricted to the BIA. So all of our local businesses in the entire township will be able to have this benefit. And thank you, Councillor Brown, for bringing this forward. It's really a gracious offer that we're doing for our local businesses.
Absolutely. Anything that we can do to help out our local business, we're there for them, obviously. So thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none. The motion is there. Madam Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that is carried unanimously. That's going to be good news for everyone, all these small business owners that would like to take advantage of that. It's good news for them, and it's good news for us too. A little bit more normalcy. Thank you very much, everyone. No new business, general information, no closed session needed. Confirming bylaw. Motion, please.
Also moved.
And Councillor Brown. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please call the vote.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Guido, seconder, Councillor Ross. All those in favor? Call the vote, please.
Voting is open, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Voting is closed, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and that's carried unanimously. Once again, thank you very much, everyone, for your input tonight. Sorry about that little mishap about the notice of motion. I needed to turn my page. So we're done. Go Leafs go. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.